I want to thank you guys for joining me for this episode of Real News Today. I'm really excited about my next guest who is joining me. I have Carolina here. She was actually referred to me from a mutual contact, Jamie. So, Jamie Lynn, we want to give her a shout out. And we are connecting today really just to talk about her ministry and her show, amongst other things, because as we approach 2021, so many people have lost hope about what the future holds. They have a lot of fear with industries being changed or some things that are closing. And, we just don't have the same world that we were used to a year ago. So we're excited to be here to kind of add our spice of hope and positivity to those of you who are watching. But before we get into that conversation, I want to give Carolina the opportunity to introduce herself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Lachelle.
You're welcome.
It's Carolina. It's a
Carolina, okay.
Carolina. Yeah, it's Carolina Marie. So I consult. I consult on Pinterest. That's one of the things that I do. But my
Oh,
heart is really around. I have a ministry that I created into a digital talk show, and it's called Free and on Fire. That has the intention of really having women be free in the face of shame. And so I really just have women share their stories and their journeys, their spiritual journeys, and how they've healed and how they've turned that shame into something beautiful. So that's what I do.
that is so awesome. So you mentioned Pinterest, that has my ears going here because
Mhm.
we hear about these different platforms. You're used to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, but talk to us a little bit about, what it is that you do through Pinterest, because many of people watching, they're not sure how to reinvent themselves or even what other platforms might be out there for
Yeah.
moving their businesses forward. So we're intrigued.
Yeah. So my background, so I was at Target Corporation for 7 years. I worked in the social department, and then I was in product and technology and innovation. So I worked with Pinterest since 2012 when I started, which was that Pinterest got started in 2009. So I've been with Pinterest and I've grown up with the platform for a long time. And so I left and talk about like the pandemic. I'd been consulting and then everything, it just boomed. I think everybody has heard. So Pinterest it is a commerce driver. People don't think about it like that, but it's a visual search engine. You want to think about it as Google. And I say this from a Fortune 50 perspective. It has tremendous business potential. The quality of the pinner and the user that's on the platform, it drives considerable amount of traffic and sales without even paid ads.
I
People
love
don't
that.
even realize that.
Yeah.
The organic potential is amazing, and then once you add paid advertising, which my clients see baseline usually of about a three times return on ad spend. It just supercharges your results. Obviously, knowing how to be on the platform. So Pinterest is very much a platform that knows that its creators are the platform. So
Mm,
Pinterest needs you. They know it. But
mhm.
I'd say you need Pinterest. Your message needs to get out there, your product, your service, whatever it is. And it's absolutely a platform for businesses to be on to scale, and to get their business and their brand or their message out there.
I love that. So, talk to us about, maybe one or two ways that we can implement this opportunity to monetize on Pinterest. So,
Yeah.
what kind of attractive ways can we get our name out there? So many people are like, they might be coaches or
Yeah.
whatever, different industries. What are some tips that you could give us about monetization?
Yeah. So the first thing you'd want to do is, once you create a business profile, do
Hmm.
everything to get your all the technical integration like supported. That includes like connecting your product catalog. If you have a commerce-based business, if you have a commerce platform, you want to get that connected. They're pretty seamless with the Shopify's and WooCommerce of the world. So then there's tutorials for everything here, right? I've just amassed all this expertise, so I can spit it really quickly. But Pinterest is really good about providing all of the information needed to optimize your content. So technical integrations, number one, get your product catalog up there is once you build your business profile. The second is just understand that it's search everything, search optimize everything. And that is, first of all, your boards on your profile. So you want to create boards related to your industry and categorize them. And with the titles and the descriptions, you want to use search terms. So for people who are coaches, it's, if you're an Instagram coach or a social media or digital or business coach, you'll have all of your boards related to tips and tricks, like Instagram tips and tricks or Pinterest tips and tricks. Business coach, if it's like women's business coaching, it's like female entrepreneurship quotes. All boards related to, if you're thinking of a mindset of how can I be helpful, that's the strategy you want to execute. And you might also have some boards that aren't directly related to your product or service, but because you know that your audience is searching, you want to make your profile like if you're a go-to place for X person, what are all the things that and boards and information that you would have that would be helpful to that person. And the second thing is that you'll want to be search optimizing is your actual content, and those are your pins. So first thing is like always optimize for mobile. Pinners are generally mostly on mobile versus desktop. And that just means having like a 2:3 ratio for your pins, meaning it's longer versus how wide it is. And then a same thing applies. Have your title and your description be even more specific. So if you have a board about Instagram tips and tricks, your specific pin might be how to use Reels, or 50 ideas for content on Instagram, or like content starters. And so that's kind of how you begin to think about using it.
That's good. I like that because, a lot of people have this content and information, but not sure how to word it, how
Yeah.
to position it on the platform. So that's some great tips right there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And if you don't know, the best thing is Pinterest will tell you. You search for the content and your content base in the search bar, and all of the pins that come up are all of the top pins. So it'll give you a pretty good idea of what people are searching for, what they're engaging with, what Pinterest is ranking in terms of their algorithm, to then give you ideas for your own content strategy.
That's good. Now, and so what do you think that most of the time that people do wrong when it comes to Pinterest?
Most of what I see is not is search, right? Not optimizing towards search. And then it's the content. And it's the visual layout of the pins so that it's optimized for the platform.
Okay.
So people might have really great content, but they aren't making the pins to be able to stand out in the feed. And so those are probably the two biggest things.
Sounds good. Well, that's some great advice there.
Yeah.
And so talk to us about your ministry and, your show, how that got started, because it definitely sounds like a creative platform, what you've established. So talk to us about that and how that got started.
Yeah. So last June, what was it? Yeah, last June. Seems like a long time ago.
Forever. I know. This year it's like 5 years and one.
I know.
Okay. I turned 50 today. Today's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
I feel like I'm 100.
I was like, what happened? I was like, it was like March for 5 months. All of a sudden it's December.
Right.
That's how I've been feeling. So
Yes.
yeah, last June I left Target.
Mm,
It was that was that was really tough for me.
mhm,
I especially up at that point, like I am all about like pursue your calling, pursue what's on your heart. And it was like
mhm.
I got my own dose of empathy. Like this is not as easy, and it is not as
Mhm.
easy as it sounds to say to someone, and dealing with all of the obstacles mentally, and
Right.
walking away from the comfort, the financial comfort, the I mean, working for Target is like amazing. Yeah, I
Mhm,
can't to
mhm.
leave a company like that, especially living in Minnesota, is not an easy thing to do because it's like, where else? How can you can't top it?
Oh, yeah,
And
'cause
so
that's the headquarters there? Is
yeah,
that where okay, yeah,
it was,
mhm,
yeah.
yeah,
So the fact I had all of these things as you know as life happens. You know, my grandma passed away, and it was everything I needed to kind of wake me up and like, what am I doing?
mhm,
Like, there's never going to be a right time. And if this is what I feel, this is the call in my heart, then what do I got to lose? I got
right,
nothing to lose. I
mhm,
mean, and so I left, and I had met Marcus Bell. So he's a world renowned producer and artist in his own, and he had created he had masked a lot of what he's done in training celebrities and brands within like the music and entertainment industry, and created a program called Wealth and Impact for people like me who
mm,
have a vision to want to bring to the world, monetize that vision, have the impact that they want. And he was launching that course, and so I started working with him. And 6 months in, we had a conversation. He's like, you should think about television. Have you thought about television? And I kind of laughed because I was like, we're in LA. And I'm like, Marcus, you know how many people want to be on TV in LA, But I sat with it. I was like, there are so many, there are so many people, there's so many networks these days.
so true.
Like, and my vision, what I want to do is within really reaching Christian women. I mean, more broad is, I hope that it goes more broad, but Christian women are really who I wanted to speak to. And so I was like, why not? There's Christian television networks. And so 3 weeks later, I found this grant for being a broadcaster on a small independent Christian television network in Atlanta. And I got the grant. And I had already had the name Free and on Fire there, like in my heart. I just didn't know what it was going to be created as.
Mhm,
And so all of that happened, and I launched it like 90 days later. And it really stemmed from, my own shame. Uh, I had two abortions in my 20s, and I wasn't really a follower of Christ, I'd say, but
mhm.
as that kind of that the revelation of like the 10 years that I had buried that and
Yes.
masked it as like, I'm good, and I know it was my choice. Like, all of the defensiveness and the angst around it was all just a cover for the deep, deep shame and hurt and pain. And if after 10 years of that, it's like a lot of stuff need to come up, and as
Yeah,
anybody who's been through any kind of spiritual journey, that it's a lot of undoing and a lot of peeling off a lot of things that the world
mhm.
has come to make you believe about yourself, so that you
So
can
true.
really get in touch with who you are, and who you really are.
Yeah.
And um and so when that got uncovered, it was like every time I opened my mouth, Lachelle, a woman would share with me, like, and
Wow.
share it away, and men too, that they've
Mhm,
never shared this before. There's no
mhm.
place to talk about this. Nobody in my family knows.
Right,
And as it went on, and like all of these things kind of just started to work together, I was like, there's no platform where women can come and talk about all of the things that bring us shame, all
right.
of the things that it's like, and this is such a key for our freedom, like our true
Mhm.
freedom. and for us to rise into our purpose and our calling. And that's the heart behind the show. We talk about uncommon faith-based topics. I just
Yes.
wrapped up season one, and we cover everything like sexual assault, abortion, infidelity, unplanned pregnancy,
Mhm.
um I mean body image, eating, everything that, like, for us as women to be able to just to talk about it together, it's just really a beautiful thing.
So
So
true.
I like for the courage that it takes for women to come and share these things that, the rest of the world, forget about the church, uh,
Right.
the even the world doesn't even want to talk about. So
So true. Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean that definitely resonates with me because dealing with depression. I had depression for 13 years. I
Mm,
was hospitalized 3 times and for me depression didn't look like what I envisioned depression looked like, which was why I struggled with it for so long because it's
yeah,
like me depressed, what?
yeah,
And so often, even if you're spiritual, my husband's a pastor. So it's like, you're thinking, well, that's not affecting me because I'm a Christian and all this stuff. And, just the anxiety that goes along with that, where
mm,
it's like, I'm not supposed to have these issues. But,
yeah,
I tell everybody all the time on my Facebook Live, the Bible is for me to get better. Okay, so I need to be reading this for myself like a vitamin,
yeah,
meaning that I still have work that I have to be fixed on. So I think we kind of have this mindset that, oh, you're a Christian and everything's just going to work out miraculously when we have had these issues that have affected us and have been buried. So as they
yeah,
do begin to come up and as we do grow and evolve, which I believe is a daily practice,
yeah,
there's going to be things that, that's a part of us recognizing that we need God for that strength to get through it.
yeah,
So, I love the fact of you bringing this up in the terms also of unlearning sometimes the things in society that might not have served us. And so we have to go through that unlearning
hmm,
process in order to have the courage to speak up and change and transform our mindsets.
yeah,
So, for somebody who's watching and, they're at this place where they have had the time of reflecting and they've seen so many different things come to light during this pandemic of having this time to think and, eliminate some of these distractions. What advice would you give them about starting the journey
mm,
of, creating a new life for yourself, or a new way of thinking at some of these things that have brought you shame in the
yeah,
past?
yeah. I mean, one the the one thing that I would say first is to just have the willingness to be open to see what's there, because we've sometimes even hidden the things from ourselves, and then that's how it keeps running our life, because it becomes like this blind spot. um we don't know, it's like I was this was 10 years. I didn't seem like it was running me, but I I would suggest doing something like what I would call like a belief inventory. Take all of the different aspects of your life and write down what you believe. Write down your beliefs. Try to become aware of like what it is that you believe, like truly what's
Mhm,
there for you about it, about yourself. How do you view yourself? How do you view God? How do you view family, wealth?
mhm,
Every single area in your life. Think about what you really think about it, your
mhm.
beliefs around it. You'll come to find most likely that they're not all very empowering. And the second thing is just to really, ask and be open to be guided to why do I believe that? And is it true?
Mhm. Right.
And if it's not, and for those people who are people of faith, it's like you have a foundation for where you go to the truth.
Mhm.
Is this in alignment with the truth about
So
what
true.
God says about who I am? If it's not, like, where did that come from? And it usually does come from somewhere in our past.
So
um,
true.
and if you can get to the start to see And for most things, it's like there's usually an event or like something that happened that is like, wow, I feel this way. Like I got teased when I was in school, and I never, you know, I never raised my hand again, or that person broke my heart.
Mhm,
And now I think that all men are or all people are going to end up betraying me, or whatever it is. It always comes
mhm,
from something.
mhm,
And then it's just really like pouring out. I mean,
mhm,
pouring it all out. What's really there, what all the hurt, you have to like allow yourself to feel through all of it and release it and give it up and ask for the renewing of your mind, ask for the transformation, ask like to be guided to the people or the resources and tools to have you know the truth, to go like really get to you believing it down to your soul.
so true. I mean, and that is just that's a
We can
game
do it
changer.
ourselves, and if we could, we would have done it.
So true. I mean, it is so true. And I think, I tried to summarize it to a friend of mine the other day. I was saying, I got tired of lying to myself.
Mm,
I was really perpetuating a lie, and it just got to be where, you know, perfect is an illusion. You cannot be all things to all people. My worth was tied up into the roles I played. I just had this constant thing of telling myself lies here and there, and believing them,
yeah.
and I just said, you know what, I'm done with these lies. Okay, I'm not tech savvy or whatever. Now I can laugh at the things that I don't do well, but I can have confidence in the things that I do. And I can appreciate and love people for who they are and not try to change them. And to me, that was just a big deal,
Mm,
in terms of even being a mom. It's like, okay, you want your kids to get honor roll, but do they want that? You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like that's how I grew up, what drove me,
Yeah.
So they may not even be like, grades. That's what somebody else says is important, but I don't think grades are important. I like to be creative. And so it's like we try to tell them you're unique, you're an individual, you have your own gifts and talents, but then we want to mold them into being like everybody else. This
Yeah.
doesn't make, I mean, that's a lie, right? It's like one or the other, pick. And so once I began to challenge that, I just felt like, man, every day, every opportunity is a learning experience.
Yeah.
You don't have to accept things. Have you read the book, The Four Agreements?
I haven't. It's been on my list for some time now, and I have
That's
not. Okay.
and it's a short read,
Yeah.
but it really, one of the takeaways is that we are born into our families, for where we are, and we agree with
Mm,
things without questioning them,
yep.
which leads to that whole thing of limiting beliefs and all
Mhm.
that, because you may not even believe that, you know
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and it just gets to be true. It's just like some background truth. And it's not until you begin to say, does this even make sense? And
Yes.
yeah, we just don't question it. We
We
just
don't.
take it as, face value. So
Yeah.
a very good point about people's opinions not being facts. That's a good thing, you
Yes.
know.
Especially when it pertains to ourselves. You really get like your
Hmm.
whole identity is built on all of these really illusions and things you've made up. I mean, it's really kind of mind-boggling.
Yes.
And, like, where did I get this? How is this real? If somebody cut me open, is shy in there? No, it's not. Like,
Exactly.
where did that come from? Like,
That is so true. And, nobody knows these things unless we say them.
yeah.
I mean, I could be afraid of flying, for example. There is nothing outward that people would even begin to guess that fear if I don't say it.
Mm,
And it's in my head, you know? So I think that's just profound. And we make it so real, it just doesn't even exist but in our head. I
yeah.
read this one thing, everything you're running away from is in your head.
Mm, that's
So
true.
It's profound.
We're not fixed like we really have it like, well, I'm this way, or my mom's that way, or my
Right.
dad's this, or they're stubborn. It's like
Mhm.
that's not true either. People aren't
Exactly.
fixed.
So true. So
We aren't
true.
fixed. We aren't. It's like we're not stuck in the way that we think that we are,
So
what
true.
which is what most it that's what keeps us. That's what keeps us, stuck, if you will.
So true. Now, so talk to someone who's watching and you've done this great thing of, walking away from this security job, in an area where everyone would love to get a position there to do your own thing. So some people are at that place, not voluntarily, but they may be forced because their industry changed or whatever happened during the pandemic. What
Yeah.
advice would you give them about moving forward, reinventing themselves during the time that we're in now?
Yeah. I would absolutely just say, yeah, use this as an opportunity. There's our life in general is all how we look at it. I've been laid off before. I know what that feels like. I know the shock. I know the upset. But you are the captain of your own life. At the end of the day, and you get to say how this goes. You get to say that this was a blessing in disguise, or that it was the worst thing that ever happened.
Mhm.
And it so shall it be,
Mm.
as you say it. And that, I think that's the first thing, is really what is it that I can do, that I have control over, to take action on. And what's really in my heart, it's like, what's the difference you want to make. At the end of the day, I truly believe that we all, when we really get to it, we all want to serve in some capacity.
Mhm.
And that's going to look different for everybody, but like, what is it that you'd want to bring? How do you want to serve people? And it might be serving clients, and or serving it and like the business industry.
Mhm.
um, but there's probably already clues there of what it is that you want to do. And it's like, it's just how many actions are there to take for you to get started on that. I just got started on like a freelancing platform like Upwork. And
Mm.
I have a very niche expertise with Pinterest, and so I
Mhm.
just positioned myself as that and got my information, my resume uploaded. And look, I future state, like, I don't want to be doing Pinterest. I don't, but it was like, what has God given me in terms of my talents and my gifts and my skills, that
Mm.
I can make money now?
Mhm.
What is like and my mentor told me this, to write down 10 ways that you can think of how to make money now,
Mhm.
and choose one of them and take the actions and go do it. And
So
chances
true.
are, there are ways. What are 10 ways you can make money now?
Mhm.
It might not be starting a bit. It might be some other way. You might like see a whole bunch of stuff you can sell. I don't know.
Right.
Believe me, I've had points in this year, Lachelle. Look, early this year was probably the mentally, I was working through all of my financial blocks, and it was,
Yes.
um wow, it was deep. There's
Yeah.
some deep rooted stuff there around money, and how I
So
let
true.
say my worth, that my bank account reflects who I am.
Oh,
And
so true.
I was like, oh, this needs to die. It
Yes.
was not fun when I actually looked at my bank account and all the bills and all, it's really incredibly overwhelming, and feels, you I felt like at fault. Like, how could I have gotten myself into this?
Right.
And it was very real. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying any of this coming from a place of, just like, get your bootstraps and go back home.
So
I
true.
know, I know. I've had to go
Yeah.
like find the things to go and sell, so that I could, make sure I could buy groceries. Like, I've been in that place. I've been in that place.
Yes.
How could I have gotten myself? How stupid was I to leave that job?
Mhm.
This is the roller coaster of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But I had stood fast in my faith,
Mhm.
that I have enough. Psalm
Mhm.
23, like, I lack nothing. I have what I
Yeah.
need. And
Amen.
every day I had to like repeat it. I had, okay, I have what I need. I have what I
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and now what is there to do today?
Yes.
What actions do I take? What phone calls do I need to make? What and just getting
Mhm.
on the phone and building things up day by day, or
Mhm.
those proposals day by day.
Mhm. I
But
love
it,
that.
yeah, and just having like a very clear intention that like this is going to happen.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, these are some great points to bring up. I mean, and I think we all struggle with this. And that was like one of the things, like when I say, stop lying to myself. We don't advocate for ourselves. We don't forgive ourselves.
Mm,
It's just like we are the worst critics of everything we do.
yeah,
But recognizing that, you don't know what you don't know, or don't know what you were ignoring, right? I mean, we can ignore so much stuff that when it comes face to face with us, we're like, what? I
yeah,
can't believe that really existed, because we pretended it wasn't there, or we, buried it underneath something, or we hid behind a mask, or whatever the case was. So you bring up some good points. So for people who are on the fence, they want to walk away from some of those things. What do you do on a regular basis that keeps you in the right mindset about moving forward, being a person of faith? Because, we have so much negativity about, oh, what's going to happen? When are these vaccinations coming? Or, immunizations, whatever the case is,
yeah.
so much fear on one side, but the mindset you have is something totally different than that. So how do you protect that and keep that the way that it is?
Yeah, I spend time in his presence.
Mm,
I mean, I think it's the one thing that's, when I see and what I see is missing in the church from a heart place, it's like,
mhm.
why don't we all look like Christ? We don't know him.
Right.
I just had this thought the other day. I was like, if when we meet Jesus, what are the questions we'll be asking? And I was like, he'll know us because he'll recognize himself in us. We're not.
Mm, that's so
And
good.
the best way for us to know is to be in his presence. And
Mhm.
I'm seeing that there's a lot of people we don't know how to. We don't know how to
Mhm.
be still to come and know him.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
even the pandemic seems to have slowed things down, but yet people have covered that up with house projects and doing this and
Right.
doing that. So it's like it slowed down, but you still don't know how to be. Uh,
Right.
and I read, and then there's the things that I do, right? I
Mhm.
be in his presence and ask for it, ask for the experience, ask for what it to be revealed to me. And like
Mhm.
you said, it's a daily surrender, it's a daily coming to the cross, a daily reading, even if it's like I read something and it doesn't hit me, like that happens. It's like I read and I was like, okay, this doesn't, I don't get anything out of this. I write, if something comes to me and hits me, I kind of just meditate on that and like, what is it that you want me to get from this? But and then I just have become really steadfast, and I say this, it's like the voice of the world is so loud, it will drown out the truth of how loved we are and how worthy we are and how
Yes.
okay we are and will be.
Mhm.
That you know we have to sit with God and repeat it every day. That's why the daily practice is so important, because the world is just too loud. It's not a
Mhm.
pull. You don't wake up with like I'm a fantastic and I'm blessed kind of mindset. You don't.
Exactly. It
Not a
takes
pull.
work. It
It,
takes work. You have to work against that. I love that. And I guess, my last question would be, you're at that place where you finally are able to have the awareness. I know in my case, I had this victim mindset. So I blame my kids and husband for my situation when it came to the depression, the hospitalizations. But, it was after my last hospitalization that I just said, Now you're the common denominator. So you're blaming all these other people and circumstances. What are you doing about it? And once I was able to kind of have that come to Jesus, look at myself in the mirror experience, all the validation, judgment just was wiped away in terms of how I interacted with other people. Now I can just be in a place of not seeking validation, no judgment, just really just compassion. So for you, what was it that happened that helped you to get to that point? Because, dealing with something like you said for 10 years and the shame and all those things, somebody could be watching that is dealing with that.
Yeah.
So, as a result of you having that experience, how has it changed for you and what did it do for you to get to that point? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Okay.
absolutely. Um, one thing you brought up is, forgiveness. Forgiveness is part of all of our path to freedom. A lot of that forgiveness was for myself. Um, I didn't really see anything for other people, but forgiveness was absolutely there. Forgiveness for myself, and then also really forgiveness towards God. For those of us who that's our source of life. If you have, I just like any other relationship, there are likely things that you have not communicated to God that you're withholding. And that was the first relationship I needed to get right. And I, on the path to the revelation of like the shame around the abortion was like I really didn't trust him. I had come out of an engagement, and I like had one night, when I say pour out, I had a night where I was angry. It was like, you say you're good, you say you want love from me, like this didn't work, like you had me think that this was supposed to, like if you were so good, why did this happen?
Right.
Like, why did you trick me into going back with this person when you knew that it wasn't going to work out? And I let it out.
Mhm.
um and I think that was the mark of an authentic relationship. You think about, like, if you're hiding the way you really feel towards someone, how real can that relationship be? And it's no different than God. I call it my Moses moment, because when Moses has that moment with God where he's like, if this is how it's going to be, like, kill me now, I don't want to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. I,
He's
I
able
mean, everything. You get naked before
yeah,
God. I feel
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
And I
Yeah.
think that was pivotal.
Mhm.
And then I, Brene Brown, Auntie Brene is, is kind of coined her. She does a lot of work on shame and vulnerability. And
Mm,
I would assert that what she said totally resonated with me and my healing journey. I had to start talking about it. I
mm.
had to start speaking
Yeah.
it out. It's the only way that the shame was killed, because I kept actually talking about it, bringing it out of the darkness and into the light, and talking with
Mhm.
people that I trust.
Mhm.
When in those early moments of shame
Mhm.
and really getting through it, and then it started to get easier as I started to share
Mhm.
it. It
Mhm.
I would always feel nervous, it was always there, but
Mhm.
I just started to start speaking it,
Mhm.
um and really work through, forgiving myself. Those were
Wow.
the main things.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And that speaking stuff, that's kind of like it really makes it real, because it's like we're telling ourselves something different. So when
Hmm.
we actually are admitting that and speaking that, because you do go through some inner struggles, you know,
Yeah.
am I really believing this? We make up stories about it or whatever, but to speak it for it to really be true, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And, now I look back, it's like, man, I can't change what happened, but I'm glad that it did happen. It helped me to be where I am today to be able to help other people. So, and just the whole thing of realizing that depression may not be your story, abortion may not be someone's story, but there is some story,
Yes,
that if we can overcome it in our situation, that you can too.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So, what's the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
I'm on Instagram at it's Carolina Marie. It's spelled like Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's Carolina Marie and Free and on Fire. Both on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm Carolina Reyes on LinkedIn. You can find Carolina Marie on YouTube too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what final words would you like to leave the audience with?
Oh goodness. Um, yeah, what would I leave everyone with? I would just know, especially given where we're at, I'm really feeling a grieving season. Um, and just to remind everyone, like no matter how it feels, like we've been through harder things. I mean, the proof is in our life. We've all been through hard things. We've been through hard things before, and this will pass as well. But where like seek God in this. Where is he? Because he's here, and there are all things are used for good. So what is it? What is the good? What is it that we can find to, bring us to the next chapter?
Awesome. Well, we really want to thank you for sharing your insight with us today. I mean, I hope everybody was taking notes. I'm gonna have to go back and take mine, but just some great aha moments. And I really appreciate your transparency and sharing, because I feel it's when we're authentic that we have the power to really penetrate the walls that many of us have built around ourselves to try to protect ourselves, but it's able to get through.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And we want to thank you guys for watching. I encourage you, if you are feeling down or, something that Carolina said resonates with you, reach out to her. So often we second guess ourselves. We are afraid to share and trust. Is this really real? This person seems so nice. I'm scared to call, but just do it.
Yes.
It definitely can transform your mind, your life, and everything else. So
Yeah.
reach out to her. And thank you again for joining us today, Carolina.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, you guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.